Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our day 2 of the joint retreat. Also wanted to welcome people who are joining us on Zoom. So today we're gonna continue with our ITP projects update. But really, we had a great day yesterday. You know, Jennifer's presentation highlighted what the program has been able to accomplish, and then what's next step with the APEX program. And our ITP teams, really, their update on the FDA interaction was just really terrific to see all the progress they have been able to make in the last few years. And then also the discussion about preclinical models, just truly very informative. So Dave and I are gonna do a tag team again this morning, and we really wanted to thank all the university who are participating in this consortium, and of course wanted to thank NIDCR. So both Jennifer and also our former NIDCR director Martha is here. You know, when that's how we started this program, and really this, I remember the first meeting we had that was in the building on Democracy Road and in that conference room upstairs. And really, you know, you will see how far we've gone. It just really heartwarming and remarkable. And our advisors and partners and our ITP teams and guest NIH program officers from different institutes really appreciate your participation. And of course, our FDA folks, Nandu and others are joining online today. Really appreciate all the advice you've given us yesterday. So our DocTRC program, as you have heard yesterday, this is one consortium with 2 resource centers. Michigan Pittsburgh Rees Group, and then also the CDoctors stands for Center for Dental, Oral, Craniofacial Tissue and Organ Regeneration. That's based on the West Coast. We really work together, as you have seen from all the presentations, as one entity to support the nation's as a nation's resource to support dental, oral, and craniofacial tissue regeneration, and leading these projects into clinical adoption and commercialization. So what you probably have noticed, you know, we also will highlight this again today. The 2 resource centers have reciprocal board membership, and they have voting privilege. And also we have a joint website that highlights all the development and the news. And also we have joined external advisory board. Many of them are here today, and really thank you for really your all your continued support. And more importantly, this joint ITP progress review, and also the resource sharing, and then getting experts from different RCs and helping the ITP team, and truly, you know, just working together, leverage also the institutional support such as CTSA, and you will see that embedded in our ITP presentations, and how these other support have really helped to make progress. So during, as you learned from yesterday's presentation, during stage 2, you know, we selected these ITPs and then went through the initial review by basic science, the clinicians and the industry expert. Once they passed the initial review, we went through the second review process, more extensive. And then afterwards, we set very stringent and specific milestones to measure the progress of these projects. And afterwards, as they entered into stage 3 funding support, you know, we have done a very thorough market analysis, and then what is the clinical need for each ITP team, and then how do we move forward to address that. And then from there, you know, we basically help to develop these protocol manufacturing, preclinical validation, different animal models, what to use, what not to use. You've heard extensively yesterday. And then right now, most of the projects are really here in whether they have successfully filed IND or 510K, or in the process of completing that process. Basically, doing clinical trial design and then putting all the documents together with external advisors to help to move through this process. And then, of course, this will lead to the exit, or some of the projects, they have been acquired by companies, and then from there, they move into clinical trial and eventually clinical adoption. So, really this process has proven to work really well over, you can see from the presentations that you have heard yesterday. So here I'm going to highlight a couple examples how the DocTRC program have helped specific ITP teams to move forward from basic discovery to translational to clinical adoption. So here, looking at, this is more or less of my own project of the Calvario bone regeneration. We started with a market analysis confirming there is really a strong clinical need for using this scaffold with bone marrow to be able to support skull bone regeneration instead of using artificial materials to repair the defect. Once we have done that, and then so the DocTRC program helped to really provide advice on the regulatory pathway. And then you heard from me yesterday talking about how we switch from the initial use of dental pulp-derived stem cells to bone marrow-derived cells, so that we can bypass that cell expansion process and really accelerate this review process with FDA to go forward as a device. And then furthermore, the SeaDoctor now provided with much needed consulting, such as regulatory strategy, packaging, design, validation, manufacturing, and then clinical trial design, working with our clinicians to move forward. So now with the IDE filing to be completed by the second quarter of next year. And here's an example from the Michigan-Pittsburgh VEIS group. And so the project team confirmed a very important clinical need, and then with an in-depth review of the interview with the clinicians, and then a conversation with the potential commercial partners. And then with the support from the Michigan-Pittsburgh VEIS group, the IDP team was able to put together a presentation and get the more external funding. I think this was from Delta Dental in the amount of $100,000, and then also facilitated identification of a CEO and forming a company, and then now moving forward with additional grant application and pending, and also IDE anticipated next year. So I'm going to give you a couple of highlights of the SeaDoctor program that has been in the last year as a review, and I'll turn it over to Dave to continue with the Michigan-Pittsburgh VEIS group. So in the last quarter of 2023, the Hydronova team, led by Sarah and Chelsea, they were able to compete and receive the $2.3 million from California Institute of Regenerative Medicine. And then that is really a remarkable progress in supporting their support for their project. And the IND filing from Derek One, as you heard yesterday, now has been successfully completed. And Jeff Gardner's group received $1.7 million from AFIRM. And then our project got additional funding from the Alfred Mann Institute. And then also we had our joint retreat in December last year in Los Angeles. And people were still talking about the social event that we had at, right next to the Sulphite Sports Center. And so earlier this year, Derek One's group received the study may proceed letter from FDA. So this was the very first IND, successful IND filing out of the entire DocTRC program. We're just really proud of that. And then, as you can see, we have more coming up. And Sarah's group highlighted their progress in the AADOCR's symposium. And then Gardner's group received additional support for their project development. And then continuing to the second quarter of this year, the project led by Michael Longacre, who was working on this SCAR revision, they started interaction with the FDA. And then Kevin Healy's group, the muscle regeneration, they established their company, Muscle Matrix, moving forward. And then the ITP team led by Gardner was featured on the NPR News. And then we had our C-Doctor annual retreat in Berkeley, California. And this third quarter, our Calvario Bone Regeneration Project submitted our second pre-sub with FDA, and then we're having our meeting next month. And the hydronovel salivary gland regeneration ITP team submitted their SBIR proposal, as you heard from Chelsea yesterday. And then Derek received his Research in Excellence Award. And so you can see just every project is really having a lot of activities moving forward. Now I'll turn this over to Dave and we'll continue with the Michigan-Pittsburgh V's Group update.
Hey, thanks, Yang. So I won't go through every bullet. I'll just highlight some of the things that represent our most critical milestones. So RevBio received a grant from National Institute of Aging for their commercialization readiness work with Tetranite. Osteo received phase 2 SBIR from the NSF. That's their second phase 2. RevBio got FDA approval for first-in-human trial for cranial flap fixation for really a sister technology to the one that's funded by the ITP. Amend submitted their 510K. As Yang said, DocTrack Symposium was one of the NIDCR 75 highlighted symposia earlier this year. Greenmark found partners for a co-branding of their Crystal Care fluoride-free product. We had a second ITP 510K submission. The Tetranite work got an SBIR from NINDS to conduct the first-in-human and enrolled their initial 5 patients. Juan de Bois had an SBIR awarded, and they're partnering with a Vic Foundry. And Isabel received a second tranche of money from the Frankel Innovative Institute at U of M. So collectively, that's over $1 million in follow-on funding directly related to her ITP. So I've given you some snippets, but more comprehensively, how do we measure success? And the measurements really start with our stage gate process and our project management. And ITPs was a new hat to wear for academic projects, that it's milestone driven, not specific aim driven. And there's the stage gate no decisions at each step of the way, where it's not just generating the data, but do the data meet certain outcome measures that give you a green light to go forward. FDA submissions are the most critical metric, and we've had not just submissions, but we could see the progress in the intensity of the meetings with ITPs and their interaction with the FDA. And this is all geared towards clinical trials and ultimately commercialization. So we've taken the strategy from the beginning of starting, in Jeannie Ambrewster's words, starting with the end in mind about what the commercialization, what the ability to get the technologies into large numbers of patients would look like, and then working backwards, not just stopping, and FDA submissions and approval is certainly really a testament to success, but things don't stop there. So all of this is geared towards the infrastructure, the processes, the personnel that are in place and create sustainability and a sustainable pipeline of resources for the translation of technologies. Our portfolio is quite balanced in terms of tissues, in terms of regulatory pathways, and internal and external funding. This data we showed yesterday, and Jennifer also showed, I think it's worth reiterating that about 2/3 of the ITPs have had some type of formal FDA interaction, whether it's a request for designation, a pre-sub meeting, all the way up to actual submissions, and almost 100% have their IP in place. Additional achievements to date, again, a slide that we showed yesterday, but worth reiterating, 2 INDs filed, one of which has been approved, 2 510(k)s filed, 1 product on the market to date. Over 60 follow-on grants, almost $70 million in external funding, and 17 and counting SBIRs, STTRs. The hit rate on the SBIRs is about 80%. I think the national average is maybe 20%, so significantly greater than the national average. Of this 68 million, probably 50 to 60% is non-federal, and a chunk of what is federal is the SBIR tranche. So not only is there follow-on funding, but it's weaning off of federal and NIH dollars. Okay. If we look at the amount of funding given to the ITPs relative to the follow-on funding, there's about a 2.5, 3-fold return on investment, conversion of NIH dollars to non-NIH dollars, and greater efficiency than what the R01 model has yielded. Again, something that was presented yesterday that I think is important to reiterate. If we consider 250,000 to be 1 year of an R01, and we look at the amount of money invested in the ITPs, between 2 and 3 years, so 500 to 600K, resulted in a 510(k) being filed and a product on the market. A second example, 5 years, maybe $1 million, $1.2 million investment resulted in a successful IND. So both in terms of time and in terms of dollars invested, we think that these case studies show a greater efficiency than traditional funding schemes. Extending out to demonstrate that the resource center provides value to more than just the ITPs that we're funding. We have outreach programs. We provide a certain number of hours of pro bono translational consulting that's paid for by the resource center for non-ITP teams. We once or twice a year we have a networking series on different aspects of commercialization. We've broadened our communications with a website with a couple of white papers, and as Scott mentioned in his closing yesterday, we're going to target summarizing the lessons learned yesterday into a third publication. Through our standardization, quality control, animal models, which were a heavy part of the discussion yesterday, we've created really what was one of the goals from the initiation of the program, to present some means of standardization to boost the translational gain. We've worked with educational programs as well as individual T32s to provide translational educational elements, and the pipeline of infrastructure and technologies and training is all geared towards building sustainability. We are very mindful and acknowledge the importance of DEI and access. Our networking series has been open to everyone. Bring a friend. We provide certain degrees of mentorship in general, as well as specific to translation. Partner with existing networks, existing programs on campus to promote DEI as well as mentorship. And through every strata of the ITP program, we understand and want the teams to appreciate health disparity issues, from the market assessment to the preclinical validation to trying to conceive of how technologies could be used in a low-cost manner, and through the design of the clinicals, the concepts of health disparities are addressed. So a couple of logistical slides. This morning and this afternoon, we'll hear the progress updates from the ITP teams. We'll adjourn about 3:30 and then have our closed door session with the leadership to evaluate the progress. For those of you that are remote, please mute yourselves. Those of you in positions of evaluating, I think links were sent out to evaluate the individual ITPs, and please contact the people listed there if there's any technical issues throughout the day. So again, thanks everybody for coming today and or yesterday. Appreciate everybody's investment in the program, and a big shout out to everybody from Michigan, Pittsburgh, USC, UCSF, UCLA, Stanford. Whole operations team is what made yesterday and today flow so smoothly. So thanks everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on where things are at and the progress since we last convened. And we'll just turn it over now to the ITP sessions.